The lights of the small town glimmered faintly in the still night, and Talia leaned against the window, gazing up at the starlit sky. Her eyes held a surreal color, as if an entire galaxy shone within them. They were an almost hypnotic hue that made people do a double take. Talia had always felt different. People often stared at her, and her classmates at school mostly avoided her. Her eyes, with that strange, unnatural glow, drew attention wherever she went. But for Talia, it was just a part of who she was, something she didn't fully understand, yet had come to accept. "Talia, dinner's ready," her mom called from the kitchen. "Coming, Mom," she replied, pausing just before heading to the kitchen. Recently, she'd noticed something unusual. She could feel things she knew she wasn't supposed to. Emotions of sadness, joy, even vague thoughts seemed to brush her mind, as if they were her own. On her 12th birthday, Talia felt an odd sensation. Something was changing inside her, something she couldn't quite explain. During her party, as her friends sang "Happy Birthday," she felt a vibration in her chest, as if a soft current were flowing through her. Her eyes sparkled more than usual, and for a fleeting moment, the entire room fell silent. After the guests left, Talia sat beside her mom on the couch, trying to hide her nervousness. Her mom seemed to notice something was off. "Talia, are you all right? You look a little tired." "I'm fine, Mom. It's been a strange day." Talia looked at her mother and felt as if she could see her emotions clearly, almost like she had direct access to her thoughts. Her mother was concerned and had always looked at her differently, as though she were hiding something important. That night, Talia awoke suddenly. A chill ran through her body, and her eyes shone in the dark like two miniature galaxies. When she looked in the mirror, she noticed something different. Her eyes were not just bright. They had taken on a deeper, metallic blue, with glimmers of light swirling within them. "What's happening to me?" she whispered, and that's when she felt, for the first time, a powerful energy surging from within. She wanted to understand why she felt all these strange things, but a peculiar thought crossed her mind, like a faint whisper from far away. "You are not like the others." A few nights after her birthday, Talia lay in bed, wide awake, staring up at the ceiling. Her mind was restless. She felt a strange pull, as if something or someone were calling out to her. She wasn't entirely sure why, but she stepped out of bed and walked over to the window. That's when she saw it. A pale blue light glowed from above, hovering just outside her window, casting an otherworldly glow over her yard. Her heart raced as the light grew brighter, filling her room. Before she could scream, a gentle humming sound began, and she felt herself lifted off her feet, her body pulled towards the light. Within seconds, everything around her blurred, and she found herself floating inside a large, dimly lit chamber. As her vision adjusted, Talia found herself surrounded by figures with tall, slender frames and silvery skin, their eyes reflecting the same strange light she'd seen in her own. Her instincts told her to be scared, but instead, she felt a sense of calm, almost familiarity. One of the aliens, who seemed to be their leader, stepped forward and spoke, not with words, but through a series of images and emotions that flooded her mind. "You are part of us," the alien's voice echoed in her head. "We are the Zyrani, and you carry our legacy within you." Talia's thoughts whirled. "But I'm human. How can I be part of you?" The alien leader's gaze softened. "You are a hybrid, Talia. Our genes were placed within your people long ago, and you are one of the few who carry the spark of our ancient lineage. That is why your eyes reveal the stars, and why you feel the emotions of those around you." Talia's heart pounded as the alien continued. "You hold within you codes from a forgotten time. These codes can activate technologies that have remained dormant for ages. They are the key to opening pathways between worlds, allowing our kind and yours to understand each other." "But why me?" Talia asked, her voice trembling. "Why now?" "Your world and ours are both in danger," the leader explained. "There are those who would use this ancient technology for war. But with your abilities, you can help us prevent that. You are one of the few who can bridge our worlds." The weight of their words sank in. She was just a kid from a small town, but here, she was seen as something more, a link between two worlds. Talia didn't fully understand what was expected of her, but part of her felt that this was what she had been waiting for all her life. Talia's heart raced as she paced in the chamber where she had been left alone. The alien beings hadn't restrained her, but she felt an invisible boundary, an energy around the room that told her she couldn't leave. The walls were sleek, shimmering with an iridescent glow, and everything about this place was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. She closed her eyes, willing herself to be calm, but all her instincts screamed to get away. As she exhaled slowly, she felt a warmth in her chest, almost like a spark. What if I could get out on my own, she thought. With growing courage, she extended a hand toward the door, concentrating on the warmth that now radiated through her entire body. To her astonishment, the door began to vibrate. Small blue sparks danced along the edges, and with a faint hum, it slid open. Talia took a deep breath, steeling herself. This was her chance. She dashed down the long, empty corridor, her steps echoing as she glanced around for any sign of where she was. But as she turned a corner, she collided with a figure, knocking them both backward. The figure she ran into was tall and thin, with skin a shade darker than the other aliens she had seen. His eyes widened in surprise, and Talia noticed they were filled with curiosity rather than hostility. The alien boy, looking to be around her age, raised a hand in a gesture of peace. "Please, don't be afraid. My name is Lurak. I don't want to hurt you," he said, his voice echoing in her mind in a soft tone. "I'm Talia," she stammered, unsure whether to trust him. "I know who you are," Lurak said with a shy smile, "and I know why they brought you here." He looked over his shoulder nervously. "I'm not supposed to be here with you, but I had to see the human girl with the star-filled eyes." Talia felt a pang of relief to find someone her own age, even if he was from another world. "Why do they need me, Lurak? What's really going on?" Lurak hesitated, glancing around. "They believe you hold the codes of our ancestors, the ones who sealed away the ancient portal. They want you to open it because they believe it can save both of our worlds. But," he trailed off, looking conflicted, "not everyone agrees on how it should be used." Curiosity overpowered her caution, and Talia asked, "Why don't they just use the codes themselves? Why do they need me?" Lurak sighed, looking thoughtful. "Because it's not as simple as unlocking a door. The Ancient Ones placed safeguards, and only someone who carries both human and Zyrani genes can bypass them. That's why they created hybrids like you, though most have yet to awaken." Talia tried to process everything he was saying. She could sense Lurak's sincerity, his struggle between loyalty to his people and empathy for her confusion. "But I don't even know what I'm doing," she said, clenching her fists in frustration. Lurak placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch oddly comforting. "The abilities will come naturally. You just have to trust yourself." To prove his point, he led her to an open chamber with small, luminescent crystals embedded in the walls. Lurak took a step back and nodded to her, gesturing for her to focus on one of the crystals. Tentatively, Talia extended her hand toward the nearest crystal and closed her eyes, concentrating on the spark she had felt earlier. Suddenly, a surge of energy pulsed from her hand. The crystal glowed brightly, casting light across the entire chamber. A feeling of exhilaration washed over her as she realized she had activated it. She was more than just a girl with strange eyes. There was power within her, waiting to be tapped. As they trained together over the next few days, Talia began to grow close to Lurak. He showed her how to channel her emotions to focus her powers, teaching her how to control the waves of energy she could feel within her. In return, Talia shared stories of Earth, her family, and the little things she missed, like the scent of rain and the warmth of the sun. Lurak listened intently, fascinated by her stories and even more impressed by her courage. He shared his own doubts, telling her that not all Zyrani supported the mission. Some believed the portal should remain sealed, fearing it would unleash dangers they could not control. One day, as they sat quietly in the training chamber, Lurak turned to her, a serious look in his eyes. "Talia, if they ask you to open the portal, will you do it?" Talia thought for a moment, the weight of his question pressing down on her. "I don't know," she admitted. "I want to help, but I don't want to put Earth in danger. I don't even know what's on the other side." Lurak nodded, looking down. "I understand. I don't want anything to happen to your world either." Later that night, Talia lay in her bunk, thinking over everything she had learned. The idea of being a link between two worlds was overwhelming, but a sense of responsibility was beginning to stir within her. She thought of her family, of the people she had grown up with, and felt a determination to protect them. As she closed her eyes, she felt a presence, a distant voice, soft and reassuring, echoing in her mind. "You are the bridge, Talia. You carry the power to unite or to destroy." The voice faded, leaving Talia more certain than ever. She would train harder, master her powers, and choose her own path. She wouldn't let others decide for her. The next morning, Lurak guided Talia to a vast chamber she hadn't seen before. The room was dimly lit, but as they approached the center, a soft light began to glow from a large circular structure embedded in the floor. The portal. Intricate patterns and symbols decorated its surface, pulsing gently with an otherworldly energy. Lurak looked at her with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "This is the portal," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "It connects not only our world to yours, but to others too. It's said to be a gateway to knowledge and power beyond our understanding." Talia's heart raced as she examined the ancient symbols. She reached out to touch one of the glowing markings, feeling a warmth spread through her fingers. This is what they want me to open?" Lurak nodded solemnly. "Yes, but not everyone agrees on how to use it. Some believe that by opening it, we can access forgotten knowledge that could help both our worlds. Others—" He hesitated, casting a wary glance toward the doorway. "Others seek to control it, to use it as a weapon." Talia took a step back, her mind spinning. She hadn't expected her role to carry such weight. She thought she was simply meant to learn about herself. But now it was clear. The fate of two worlds rested on her decision. That night, Talia couldn't sleep. She wandered the quiet halls, her mind troubled by the responsibility placed upon her. She knew the Zyrani saw her as a tool, a key to a power they couldn't access on their own. But she was starting to see herself differently. She was more than their bridge. She had a voice, and she had a choice. As she turned a corner, she saw a group of Zyrani gathered in whispers. One of them noticed her and signaled for her to approach. She recognized him as Narek, an elder who had watched her closely during her training sessions. "Talia," he said softly, "we have been waiting for you. We are the few who believe the portal should remain closed. It contains powers and memories of a long-lost era, a time of war and ruin. If opened without care, it could bring chaos." Talia looked at Narek, her heart pounding. She had sensed his caution before, but now it was clear he and his allies were preparing for something. "If you truly want peace," Narek continued, "help us protect the portal. Refuse to open it. With your unique abilities, you could guard it against those who seek to exploit it." Talia felt torn. She didn't want to be a pawn, but she also didn't want to deny the possibility of something that could save both worlds. She had to find a way to make her own choice. The next day, Talia stood before the portal once again, her heart steady as she placed her hands on the symbols. She had spent the night in deep thought, balancing the voices of Narek and Lurak, the needs of her family, and her own instincts. As her hands connected with the portal, the markings responded, glowing brighter, and an image flickered to life above it. She saw glimpses of ancient Zyrani civilization, a place of peace and knowledge, but also conflict and war, where the portal had been used as a weapon before being sealed away. Suddenly, a voice echoed in her mind, and she knew it wasn't one of the Zyrani around her. It was a memory, a remnant of the portal's ancient guardians, warning her, "To open the portal is to awaken all it holds, light and darkness alike. Only one who seeks unity, not power, may prevent what lies beyond." The vision faded, leaving Talia trembling but resolute. Talia stepped back, breathing heavily, and looked at the Zyrani gathered around her. Among them was Lurak, his eyes filled with worry and anticipation. "What did you see?" he asked quietly. She took a moment before answering, choosing her words carefully. "I saw a time when the portal was misused. I saw the potential for both creation and destruction. But more than that, I felt its will, as if it were warning me." Lurak nodded, understanding dawning in his expression. "You want to keep it closed, don't you?" Talia hesitated. "I don't want to keep it closed forever, but it shouldn't be opened without purpose and without unity. If we don't understand it fully, we risk repeating the same mistakes." Narek, who had been watching from the sidelines, stepped forward, his face somber but approving. "Then let it be known, Talia is not our tool. She is our guide. We will not force her to open the portal." There was a tense silence, and Talia glanced at Lurak. She could sense his own inner conflict. He too wanted to understand the portal, but he respected her choice. Finally, he spoke, his voice steady. If Talia believes this is the right path, then I trust her. In the days that followed, Talia worked with both Narek and Lurak to understand the portal's energies without fully activating it. Together, they studied the symbols, uncovering pieces of ancient knowledge that hinted at how the portal could heal and unify, not only divide. As they worked, Talia's powers continued to develop. She was able to strengthen her telepathic connection to the Zyrani and even began to sense Earth from afar, a faint but reassuring feeling of home. She had gone from being a scared, uncertain girl to someone with a purpose she had chosen for herself. Finally, the day came when she had to return to Earth. Lurak, Narek, and the others gathered to bid her farewell, knowing she would return to her world, but would forever remain a bridge between the two. Talia, Lurak said, his voice breaking slightly, you taught us that peace can be stronger than power. We won't forget. She reached out and squeezed his hand. This isn't goodbye. I'll come back one day, when both of our worlds are ready. With one last look at her Zyrani friends, she stepped into the portal. As the familiar hum surrounded her, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment and courage. She knew her mission now, to protect her world, to understand the Zyrani's heritage, and to, one day, when the time was right, unlock the portal's full potential. Not as a weapon, but as a bridge to a brighter future. As the portal's light faded, Talia found herself back in her bedroom, the familiar sight of her room. The posters on her walls, her clothes scattered on the floor, filled her with a warm sense of relief. But she knew she was no longer the same girl who had left this place. She felt an energy within her, a newfound clarity, as if she were carrying a piece of the stars themselves. The clock on her bedside table read 3 a.m., and she realized only a few hours had passed since she'd first glimpsed the alien ship outside her window. For her, though, it had felt like days. As she lay back on her bed, staring up at the ceiling, her thoughts drifted to Lurak and the others. She wondered what they were doing now, what new secrets they were uncovering from the portal's ancient markings. She could feel a faint connection to them, a thread that bridged the distance between Earth and the Zyrani world. She knew this link would always be with her, a reminder of her mission and the responsibility she'd chosen to accept. When morning came, Talia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was back home, but she wasn't the same. Her powers were still with her, stronger, more controlled. She could feel the presence of others' emotions more clearly now, sensing the subtle differences in energy and intent. At school, she noticed things that she hadn't before. She could sense her classmates' anxieties, their hidden dreams, and their small but hopeful wishes. And instead of feeling like an outsider, she felt more connected than ever, knowing that she was part of something much bigger. But Talia kept her powers hidden, choosing only to use them sparingly, carefully. The Zyrani had taught her the value of patience and caution. She knew that, someday, the knowledge and strength she carried would be needed to protect both worlds, Earth and the Zyrani's home. That night, as she looked up at the stars from her window, Talia whispered a promise to herself. "I'll be ready," she murmured. "When the time comes, I'll be ready to help both our worlds." As she closed her eyes, she felt a soft, familiar hum resonate within her, like the pulse of the portal, a gentle reminder that she was a bridge between worlds. And with that, Talia drifted into a peaceful sleep, a quiet hero with the power to change the fate of her planet, one choice at a time. Talia's journey has only just begun, and now she's equipped with newfound abilities, wisdom, and a connection to another world. She's ready for whatever the future holds, whether it's on Earth or across the stars.